The Mauler is a terrifying monster in the dungeons of fear and hunger, and today we're going to talk about who he was and what his goals were, and how he became such a terrifying creature. When we first enter the dungeon, the Mauler won't initially be active, although it can be seen in certain conformations, like in the level 1 dungeons, the area with torture. He can be seen stood behind a set of iron bars, just staring at the player, or when you sleep on the crow bed for a second time. Upon failing the coin flip, he will ambush you in your sleep. Without preparation, this will mean almost certain death due to his powerful attacks and one-shot mechanics. But, before we discuss the Mauler, we must talk about the dungeon. Specifically, how it affects the people inside. This is because the dungeons are built upon the god of the depths. He is the god of forgotten creatures and insects. The dungeons themselves are a part of the god. This causes all things inside to be under his influence, which causes all the twisted and dark things we see. Our characters are also affected by this. The unnatural hunger and darkness inside is caused by the god of the depths. His presence alone twists reality, which is why there are so many monsters inside. They were all once people, but they are now corrupted by the darkness, just like the Mauler. The Mauler was once a man by the name Rudimir. He was the noble captain of the dungeons. We know this because we can find his diary entries at certain points in the dungeon. These entries give a keen insight into who Captain Rudimir was and how his morals lay. One of the first ones we read are about the twisted torturer himself, Torture. Captain Rudimir, 16th of January, 1590. Torture once again went too far with his wicked methods. The prisoner was but a child, but already had to go through so much torture that he shit himself more than he bled. I must say, I'm afraid of torture to a certain degree. Sometimes, I think I would do this world justice if I just off him with my blade. Very few know, but torture used to be a famed holy knight of Rondon back in the day. He was able to achieve great fame at a very young age, but during our holy campaign against the Eastern territories, he was captured. Everyone presumed him as dead. He died as a war hero. He should have died as a war hero. But 5 years later, when we occupied the eastern capital, Jataya, we also found what was left of Torture. He was but a shadow of his former self, a disfigured, hunchback man with barely any resemblance to the great hero so many adored. I am sure during those 5 years he went through every method of torture he now puts to use himself. Just to honour the memory of Torture the White, I let this monster live today, although I see great contradiction in my words here. See a glimpse of who Captain Rudimir was as a person. He is talking about a horrific man who lives just to torture and do it in the most sadistic way possible, inflicting as much suffering as he can. But Captain Rudimir shows him mercy, despite thinking he may do the world good by getting rid of him. Because of who Torture was in the past, he wants to honour the memory of Torture the White, not Torture the monster. His second diary entry is about his experience overall in the dungeon, and all the ongoing rituals and dark magic. I'll read this to you now. Captain Rudimir, 30th of April, 1590. It was a mistake to take this position in these dungeons. It's next to impossible to keep any kind of order among troops here. There are powers at play here that we, as mere mortals, cannot fight against. I've come to accept the madness. A naked prisoner crucified on a sacrificial statue with his guts hanging out? Just another day in the dungeon. More and more troops are committing suicide every day. More food for those left. Orders to let some cultists do their wicked rituals here? Anything goes. All the gore and macabre scenery has become trivial to me. From this entry, it is clear the dungeons are starting to get to Rudimir. He mentions how he regrets taking the position in the dungeon, and how hard it was to keep order amongst the troops, and how normal everything is beginning to seem. People crucified, soldiers committing suicide, and cultists committing wicked rituals. Nothing about this is normal, yet he feels that it has become trivial. This, all mixed with his orders being undermined by the high priest, started to cause his further fall into insanity. The next entry shows this clearly. I'll read that out now. Captain Rudimir, 5th of August, 1590. I've had long, feverish dreams for the longest time now. In the dreams, the patterns on the walls, the caws of crows, the swirling clouds, they haunt even my waking hours. I haven't had a moment of tranquility in months. It almost feels like the dreams become wilder as the madness in this dungeon grows ever more stronger. I don't know which is the result of which. Did the dreams come before the madness, or the dreams results of the ever-ensuing chaos? Everything I see seems to remind me of the dreams, otherworldly patterns. I swear, the intestines of a gutted prisoner from yesterday took the very same shape. But when I try and describe its organic, ever shape and pattern to scholars, or draw it down on this very paper, I fail to do so. Like a bonfire, with flames reaching out to a night sky, so is its shape, without a concrete form. These shapes are dangerous without a doubt. Effects like these are far too much for mere humans to comprehend. I'm the epitome of their obsession, so I know it better than any. Maybe I'm the only sane one left to acknowledge this. Is it my responsibility to clean everything up once again? The crows, they give their testament to my suspicions. I will start the purge. I will root out the madness. Only I can do it. There is also an unused entry that instead talks about the tree in the courtyard. It seems to be the source of the strange patterns Rudimir sees everywhere. Although the legitimacy of this entry is questionable, since it doesn't appear in game. I'll read it to you now. Captain Rudimir, 5th of the 9th moon, 1490. The tree haunts my waking hours. It haunts my feverish dreams. I haven't had a moment of tranquility in months. Everything I see seems to remind me of its otherworldly patterns. I swear, the intestines of a gutted prisoner from yesterday took the very same shape. But, when I try to describe its organic, ever-shape and pattern to scholars, or draw it down on this very paper, I fail to do so. Like a bonfire, with flames reaching out to a night sky, so is its shape without a concrete form. The tree is dangerous without a doubt. Effects like this is far too much for me humans to comprehend. I'm the epitome of their obsession, so I know it better than any. That is why I isolated the tree to the inner courtyard, with no doorways leading to its embrace. I had walls built around it. Still though, the walls, I can hear its lower. It won't let me go. The main issue is this entry repeats the one before it for the most part, with some changes. We already know the Cromwell is connected to the god of the depths. This entry might have been intended to show us this, but maybe it was too obvious, so it's changed to the one we know today. His journal entries aren't all we can claim about Rudimir's past. We can find out even more about him. We know that he ran into the dungeons in nothing but a sheet of cloth after trading the cube of the depths for supplies to the cave dwellers. We know this because of the diary of an unknown god. I'll read it to you now. 16th of August, 1590. The madness is spread in the dungeons like a plague. Some even suspected the plague that's running wild at the kingdom of Rondon is a cause for all this, but the symptoms are different, very different to say the least. The remaining troops took refuge in these mines, in hopes that the kingdom would send some help at some point in time in the unforeseen future. The hope is running low, however. Captain Rudimir set foot to the underground city of the cave dwellers, and traded that bizarre artifact for food and supplies. Now those supplies are running low. We try to scavenge food barrels whenever possible, but it's not enough to feed us all. The hope is indeed running low, as even the captain seemed to lose his mind some days ago. He ran into the dark dungeons on his own, wearing nothing but a sheet of cloth. We're gonna die down here, aren't we? At this point, the god was broke. They had no supplies, no captain, and no hope. But Captain Rudimir also had a brother that he was able to contact as the guard broke completely, asking for help. His brother is Sir Cyril. He arrives with Lord Buckman, Sir Seymour, and Janine. Sir Cyril not only mentions that the Cromwell is his brother, but that the madness may also run in his family like a curse. We also know that Sir Cyril was losing his mind. We saved him from that, but if you kill him and take his soul, the player character will say that the soul is unusually heavy and looks halfway through mutation, so it could be believed that Sir Cyril would also become something similar to his brother. We also find out in Termina that the Mauler is still alive, We do know that he may have some form of resurrection, as if you kill him, his body will despawn shortly after you gain access to the God of the Depths, and when you meet him again he is further mutated, but keeping all his damage from previous battle. So it's possible that we either didn't manage to finish him properly, or he can never die. Overall, the Crow Mauler is a truly saddening character, as he lost everything due to the dungeon, possibly got his brother and the party killed trying to rescue him, and became a violent husk, lurking in the ever-looming darkness of the dungeons of fear and hunger.